if you listened to the music in the 70s or later, you will recognize these lyrics. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Name that tune. Bob Marley and the Wailers. Very good. Yeah. So Bob Marley was writing about his life in Jamaica and where they had to fight for respect and acceptance for being Rastafarians. It was about religious rights that he wrote that song about. Now it's been used in all these other different ways, but I think that's very interesting, that it's a religious rights song in the beginning. So stand up. Stand up for what you believe in. Need to learn to stand up for yourself. It's a phrase I've heard all my life. I imagine people have. But and we're hearing it a lot lately. But I thought it would be very interesting to explore what does it really mean to stand up, and what does that mean in the context of our Dharma practice? What does it mean to stand up? So, put simply, you could say stand up is the opposite of sitting down. Colloquially, we talk about it to mean holding firmly to a particular opinion or to a particular belief. So that when we stand up for something, it means you give your wholehearted support. Does that jibe with people's feeling about what this is? Okay. Oops. Here we go. Sorry. So some people say sitting is passive, although sit-ins had a lot of power, and actually Rosa Parks did a lot by sitting rather than standing. But in her heart, what she was doing was standing up. So, but generally when we talk about standing, we're taking action. And there's power in that kind of standing. So we do this spontaneously in ordinary life. Like if you go to a baseball game, Venerable Saltram, most people are sitting to watch the game. But somebody hits a home run, what happens? On their feet, people stand up to cheer. Stand up. So if people are going to a concert, Venerable Sumpton, and there is a stellar performance at the end, what happens? People on their feet, they're standing up. So it's also like a symbol of appreciation or support for something. And we do it. When you do it in those moments, we've all done it. Whether it was a ball game or a concert, whether it was a classical concert or a rock concert, whatever it was, we've done it. It kind of comes from here. That movement to stand up. So in our life and in our Dharma practice, it's very important, I think, to think about what do we stand up for? What do we personally, what does each one of us stand up for? Like what are the values? What are the values that we stand up for? You want to throw a few out? Just thinking here in the moment?
Animal rights.
You stand up for animal rights, meaning not to kill them, not to eat them. Stand up for dignity. Human dignity, yeah? Human rights. Stand up for respect. Stand up for justice. Stand up for quality. Equality. How about we stand up for compassion? There we go. Venerable Children stands up. We stand up. The real fundamental values. Human rights, human dignity, animal rights, all those, I think, underneath where we talk about rights. What are we standing up for? We're standing up for these fundamental human values that, are informed for sure by our Buddhist worldview. His Holiness the Dalai Lama talks about this. He says, at birth, all human beings are naturally endowed with the qualities we need for our survival, such as caring, nurturing, and loving kindness. However, despite already possessing such qualities, we tend to neglect them. As a result, humanity faces unnecessary problems. So His Holiness advises that we need to make more effort to sustain and develop these qualities. Qualities, again, caring, nurturing, loving kindness, compassion. And we also need to focus on cultivating good human relations, for regardless of differences of any kind, we are all human beings. We all depend on each other in difficult circumstances, and we do so unconditionally. It's interesting to think about. When we see somebody in trouble, we do not ask people who we are before we offer help. When there's a situation that calls us to stand up, we don't ask, who are you? Where are you from? What's your religion? What's your background? Did you go to college? Maybe I'll help you, maybe I won't. We don't do that. If we're in a stand-up mode, when people need help, we stand up. We don't ask who they are, he says. We help because they are human beings just like us. So, we have the opportunity many times a day, even in our personal life. I was really thinking about this, how we could apply it immediately. And certainly when we see people in trouble, people suffering in a obvious way, mentally or physically, whether it's like in the schoolyard or whether it's in the warring nations or whether it's right here in the dining room, we actually have an opportunity to stand up for our values. And I will say I don't always take it in the small scale. I'm more inclined to move in the larger scale. But there's this movement of standing up for compassion that we can pay attention to. But I think by meditating on what is it that we actually stand up for. What are the values that are the most important to us and that make us act? So, bodhisattvas stand up. That's what they do. If we put it in this sort of vernacular. So if we're following this bodhisattva vehicle that is propelled by compassion to wish to become fully awakened in order to benefit all living beings, when we aspire to be like these bodhisattvas, we can think, okay, so what? Bodhisattvas stand up for generosity. When they joyfully give without thinking about it, they give protection, they give their material possessions, they give virtue. That's a bodhisattva standing up, right? They stand up for ethical conduct. When they scrupulously refrain from harm in any way or try to help others or they're cultivating bodhicitta, it's like standing up for ethics, personally. And then the result is a benefit to all beings. They stand up for fortitude. When they don't respond to anger or harm with anger or harm. Or when they stand up to bear the sufferings of life in general, or when they stand up to bear the difficulties of practicing the path. It's like a stand-up motion for the bodhisattvas. They stand up for joyous effort. They don't have laziness when they do this. They don't have, aren't so distracted by the world. They're clear and focused on what they're doing. They stand up in that way, and they stand up to discouragement. Like there's no space for discouragement in a bodhisattva mind that's standing up with joyous effort. Even in sitting meditation, a bodhisattva is standing up for concentration. And the Buddha did say, a monastic knows I am walking when I'm walking, knows I am standing when I am standing, knows I'm sitting when I am sitting, and I am lying down when I'm lying down. And then bodhisattvas stand up for wisdom. Absolutely. When they understand that the interdependent nature of things, and that by understanding the ultimate mode of existence, they know better than anybody that standing up does make a profound difference in the happiness and suffering of sentient beings. So it's kind of like realizing emptiness, cultivating our wisdom is the ultimate standing up for what we believe in and, compelled by compassion for the benefit of all. So, standing up. It's in the air these days. People are saying, stand up, stand up. This whole talk was sparked by a poem that was shared by a person I now think of as a friend. Rabbi Tamara Molino is a rabbi in Spokane, for both temples in Spokane. And she shared this poem by a colleague of hers, Rabbi Michael Latz. So people are probably familiar with these words that were written by the Lutheran minister Martin Niemöller. He was German, And he spent time in the German concentration camps because of his resistance to the Nazi oppression of religion in Germany. And his words are on the Holocaust Memorial Museum that we visited to when we visited DC. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. You familiar with this? Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So that has been quoted again, 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 again as a message of what happens when we don't stand up. So Rabbi Latz took that, he's heard it his whole life, and reframed it for today, where he says, first they came for the African Americans, and I spoke up because I am my sister's and brother's keeper. And then they came for the women, and I spoke up because women hold up half the sky. And then they came for the immigrants, and I spoke up because I remember the ideals of our democracy. And then they came for the Muslims, and I spoke up because they are my cousins and we are one human family. And then they came for the Native Americans and Mother Earth, and I spoke up because the blood-soaked land cries and the mountains weep. They keep coming, we keep rising. So, no further comment needed, I don't think. As bodhisattvas in training, we stand up. Stand up.